Well, that was just phenomenal. And we'll talk about all of this as we get going on here. So everyone, welcome, and whoever will be joining us later on down the road when it's archived on YouTube. Appreciate you guys joining us. So Scott, so great to have you on the call. I really appreciate you taking time to do this.
You too, Matt. I'm very honored and privileged to be on here today. Thank you.
So I'll introduce you a little bit, and then we'll just get right into it. So thanks again for everyone joining from Scott's network, which is definitely different than my network. For those of you that are joining, a little bit about why I started doing these calls. When COVID hit back in March, you know, I've recognized in my life the need and the benefits of networking. And we do a lot of it here in Utah anyway, in person. And obviously when COVID hit, everyone was shut down, right? So I just kind of thought, oh, let's start, you know, and obviously now everybody's doing some of these calls. But, you know, my intent is truly to just provide value, connect ideas and people with people that are in my network. And hopefully I can connect with some of the people in your network, Scott. And so I've just kind of kept these going ever since March. So they've been fun. I get more out of this, I think, than anyone because, you know, I get a, you know, your network's your net worth, right? So a lot of these people that I've had on my calls, I've already known before, but some of them I've not known that well, but it's been awesome to get to know them better through these calls, and we've done deals and stuff. So hopefully if there's, you know, something that somebody needs or needs to connect with, let me know, and I'm happy to introduce it at a deeper level. Like, for example, Scott, I'm happy to introduce you to people in my network, or vice versa, anyone on the call that wants to chat with you. I know you're willing to do that as well. So anyway, Scott, we talk so much. Say your last name. I want to make sure I pronounce it right.
It's Buchholz.
Buchholz, just like I thought. Okay.
Perfect.
So Scott with one T,
That's right.
not two, father of 5, grandfather of 7, and a full-time real estate investor. 40 plus years in corporate America, and most recently a project manager of a big box retailer with the responsibility for building new stores. As a full-time real estate investor, focuses on fix and flip, new construction, and building a rental portfolio in multiple states with a passion for helping others build their business. So Scott and I, we connected what, man, time flies, but 3 or 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yep, we went to lunch here when you were in town for a kind of convention, and
Yes.
got to know each other and connected pretty well. And since then, I've watched you do some pretty amazing things. That video that we showed at the start was a house that you just recently finished. And I was so impressed with your attention to detail and the overall scope of work. I mean, it just turned out fabulous. And this isn't necessarily when I want to start, but since we just showed that video, you know what, let's wait on that. I want you to tell us a little bit about that deal, but I want to do it a little later. So maybe everybody's story is so awesome. So let's start with yours. I mean, you were in corporate America for 40 years. Just give us your little background about why you got started doing that. And then forgive me if I cut you off a little bit along the way here, but let's let it roll, Scott. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
And if I remember correctly, this is an open chat, so people can type in questions in the chat room.
Absolutely.
And if they've got anything they would like to ask of me or Matt, obviously jump in. Matt's going to be monitoring the chat room. So a little bit about me. So I'm currently sitting in a restaurant in Topeka, Kansas. Now, there's a few people on here that I see that I know that are probably wondering, what the heck is he doing in Topeka, Kansas? Well, I'm doing real estate. You know, one of the things that one of my mentors explained to me a long time ago, that if you're going to be in real estate investing and you travel to visit family or you go to locations you like to visit, why not do real estate there, right? What better reason, you know, travel to see family or travel to, you know, if you love Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, for instance, in Tennessee, why not have a place there that you go to 2 or 3 times a year, because you're going for business, but you might have a little fun while you're there. So I was born in Topeka, Kansas, and we're not going to take up a full hour on Topeka. It's just a great opportunity zone right now. It's an incredible place to be a real estate investor, and so I'm starting to really build a portfolio here. As you know, Matt, I'm closing on 3 more single-family rentals this week. Number one. And then we've got, you know, coming down the pipe, I've got a couple of apartment complexes that we look to be closing toward the end of the month. And I'm here to look at more while I'm here. So, so my story, you know, Matt, corporate America for 40 plus years, You know, only worked for two companies my whole adult life, which today is unheard of. You know, when I grew up, it was, you know, you stick with a place, you build loyalty, you build, you know, security. It means something when you say, I've been somewhere 20 years. Well, today it's changed, okay? And this is even pre-COVID, it changed. You know, it's nothing for people to change jobs every 3 to 5 years now. It's acceptable, you know? Back when when I was growing up through my adult life, raising a family and everything, if you met somebody or someone came to interview with you and they had 3 jobs in 10 years, you probably might not hire them because they were called job hoppers. You remember that, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't want to invest in that person because they were always looking for the greener grass on the other side. So I only worked for 2 places, and I'll still be very proud of that the rest of my life, that it was only 2 places. And back in the 70s, Matt, in the 80s, when real estate investing was actually, I could use this word, it was actually easy. You didn't really need to know what you needed to know to be successful. You could make, you know, mistakes and stuff and still be successful. Today, you can't make those same mistakes. You need to know what you need to know. And so I saw my mom and dad, who both were, you know, corporate America. They both had W-2 jobs, but they started accumulating rental properties, and they got to between 27 and 29 rental properties. Some of them were duplexes, some of them were fourplexes, but they had quite a few doors. And I saw them do that in the 70s and 80s while having both of them having full-time jobs, having 3 children. And I was just like, I love it. I love that. I love the whole concept. So, and basically what it did was my dad passed away several years ago, but it allowed my mom to, you know, pretty well live without having a lot of worries. You know, she sold her portfolio off, and she's, you know, pretty happy with where she is in life. And she'll be 89 years old. She lives here in Topeka.
Wow. Awesome.
And yeah, so sharp as a tack still. So, but anyway, so that was a thing that was in my mind, that I always knew I wanted to be a real estate investor. And so being in corporate America for, you know, 40 plus years, you know, I got a call one day from corporate America. Okay. And if anybody can imagine being in corporate America and getting a call from the HR department, you can kind of guess what that call was. And it wasn't necessarily,
They weren't giving you a raise, I'm guessing.
right. It wasn't necessarily you're gone, we're firing you. It was, you know, the really politically correct way, or the nice way of saying, well, we're eliminating your position. We're not going to build more stores. So we want you to move sideways into another department because you're a very valuable asset. Well, that all sounded good. So it was like a punch in the stomach, but then it was good. I don't have to go home tonight, Matt, and tell my wife I lost my job, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So it was a punch in the stomach, but then it was like a fresh air because they want me to stay with the company. They're going to move me sideways. Well, what they didn't tell me in the first call that I found out in the second call was, at the time I was making a very nice 6-digit income, and they wanted to cut my salary by 45%.
And so how long ago was this? What year are we talking about?
2015, Matt.
Okay. So you'd already been working, obviously, many, many years in corporate America up to this point.
Yep.
Let me just interject a little bit. This will kind of weave in through your story here, but why did you not maybe jump in right away into real estate investing, you know, when you were younger, when you saw what your parents were doing? Was it just maybe not the right time, or you know, if you were kind of seeing what they were doing, you know, I'm guessing we're about 25, 30 years down the road before, you know, this moment that you're talking about,
Yes.
in 2015.
Yeah, well, you can do the math. I mean, from the late 70s to the 80s to 2015, it's more than 20 or 25 years. But that is a great question, Matt. So one of the things that what I know today, and I think you would agree with it as well, Matt, what you know today, if you only knew what you knew today back when you were early 20s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, don't you get goosebumps down your neck just thinking about it? I mean,
Yeah.
But so it truly was that old saying, you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And we talk a lot about currencies in life. We talk about money. We talk about time. We talk about relationships, and we talk about knowledge. So those are the 4 currencies that everything falls within. And I had the W-2 mindset, Matt, of that time and money were the most important ones. You know, I would outwork everybody. I would work harder, longer, smarter. That would make me more money, right? That's the American dream, right?
Yes.
And that was my concept, and that's what I grinded on. So one, I wasn't going to make time for it because I thought I turned out later that I was a workaholic. Um, and because I wanted to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And so I didn't make the time because I didn't think I could. And I didn't have the knowledge, and I didn't have the relationships. Our business, as you well know, Matt, because you talked about it early on, of relationships, it's about knowledge and relationships. We've all heard in our lives, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's only partially true. It's who you know applied with the knowledge that you know. That's what makes you successful. And that's what opens doors up for you. That's how I met you, Matt. If
Yep.
I wouldn't have had the knowledge and the relationships, you and I would have never met, right?
Yep.
And I consider you a partner, a friend. Our mindsets are very much alike. And so knowledge and relationships. So that's kind of where it is. To answer your question is, why didn't I jump into it earlier? Because I thought I had to work 70 hours a week to be ahead of the rest of the competition in my business, my field. And I didn't have the knowledge or the relationships. But once somebody told me a long time ago that if you have an entrepreneur mindset, if you're business minded and you get that call one day or something happens that you no longer have a job, you got to look at that as a blessing. Because if you take that and you look at the glass half full or 3/4 full, that's that abundance mindset that we hear about
Yep.
when we do a lot of self-development. You know, do you have a scarcity mindset or do you have abundance mindset? I had a scarcity mindset. I tell people that all the time because I didn't know what I needed to know. I didn't have relationships, right? And I didn't have knowledge. And knowledge is great, just like cash is. Cash is great, but isn't cash flow better than cash?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Isn't applied knowledge better than just knowledge? So I learned all that stuff. And I'll just, not everybody knows my age, but I learned all that stuff at the age of 55 years old. I mean, if I don't know what I know today, I have no question, Matt, I would have thousands of doors right now,
Well,
thousands of rental properties.
and Scott, I wanted to kind of bring that out because I think it's great. Everyone's story is so unique and coulda, shoulda, woulda, but it doesn't matter. No regrets. Like you got to where you were at the timetable you got for a reason because you have
Right.
to go back and change it. But what I hope people can realize, because I'm like you, man, if I know what I know now when I was 19,
Mhm.
I'd be a gazillionaire right now, right? But that's not how it goes. But those that are younger that are on this call, listen to what Scott's saying, right? Your time and your place may not be quite yet to make the jump that he made in 2015 that we'll get to, but you certainly can do that side hustle like, your parents did in the 70s
Right.
and 80s while working full time and investing. And then mindset is everything. And then the final maybe point of why I think you're so awesome to have on, and I've had some other people on that are, a little bit more veteran like you, it's never too late. Like you still have a ton of runway ahead of you. I mean, your mom's
Right.
89, you're going to be 89, 90, 95. And so you still got 45 years. Like you still got a ton of time, right? So there's, yeah, you could have done it when you were 20, 25,
But
30.
I can't, Matt, if I could throw this in though, I hope I do. Only God knows that if I have that time or not, that's his decision. But, bottom line is I am kind of living my life now with a little bit more vision I've had more epiphanies in the last 6 months of my life than I think I had my whole adult life. And things that just have hit me so I kind of live each day like, not that it's my last day, but we're not guaranteed 5 years from now, right? We're not
Yeah.
guaranteed 10 years from now. And so I have a plan in place that I'm actually ahead of. And since I found this group of investors, I met you, that kind of thing, and I'm executing at a high level. And I have a bigger plan to execute even higher level. But, you mentioned youth. I got to say something about this. So, as you know, Matt, I'm part of a large group of investors across the country. And so I made a drive one time. I live in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. If you guys know where that is, it sits right on the Ohio River. It's right dead center of Ohio at the very bottom south end of it. And the Ohio River basically divides Kentucky and Ohio and Indiana. So I live in Northern Kentucky. I'm about 15 to 20 minutes from downtown Cincinnati, or the river, we'll call it. And so I made a drive one day, Matt, to go to Chicago to meet this large group of real estate investors. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I didn't tell anybody I was coming. But my story is, I got there and I walked into hundreds. This is not a RIA. This is a family of people. And I walked into them. The first person that walked up to me, Matt, I love sharing this story because it ties in with what you said. The first person that walked up to me and met me and stuck his hand out and looked at me right in the eyes, Matt, like I'm looking at you now in the eyes. And that is, he said, "Hey, welcome. He said, "I've never seen you here before." Well, first of all, he was a 15, 16-year-old kid. Turns out later I found out he was 19, but he looked like he was 15 or 16 years old. And I said, I told him I was from Kentucky. He's like, "Wow, you drove 7 hours to come to this meeting tonight?" I go, "Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people that if I'm all in, or if I want to invest, I'm really going to check things out." So, we're talking, and I said, "Well, what's your plan to be a real estate investor?" I said, "Are you going to start it in a couple of years?" I'm thinking he's 15 or 16 years old. "You're going to start in 5 years?" And he looks at me with a smile. And he looks right at me in the eyes, and he says, "I've already got 22 rental properties." You want to talk about a punch in the stomach. Here I'm 55 years old. I'm meeting a kid who turned out to be 19. He's already got 22 rental properties. I'm like, so it's never too, for anybody that's young or anybody that's old, it's never too late. It's never too early. You just got to apply yourself. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry. I had to share that story.
No, I think that's awesome. And it's great wisdom for everybody on here. I'm looking at the people that I know on the call, and I know some of them are well in the game. Some of them are trying to readjust their career and figure out where they're going. Some of them are just trying to kind of chip away. Some of them are that W-2 where they're looking to, create that side hustle of real estate. And so, man, I think, everybody's journey is going to be so different, but the most important thing is, all of us are interested in real estate. Just take action today, right? When, I say this over and over again, when I started these calls, one of my first guests, Mike Baird, just a total rock star, he made the comment of like, if anything, I just want you to take one thing away from this call today and take action on, right? And so I've been trying to apply that with every guest that I have on. And so, and I'll kind of talk about what mine will be as we get to the end of the call with you, but everyone be thinking about that. Hopefully everyone gets a little bit inspired, learns something in a different way from you, Scott, and then takes action on something, right? So,
That's right.
Okay, this is great. We're progressing well here. 2015, you're like, okay, you're not really fired, but you're kind of fired because you're getting a huge pay reduction. Right. And so you're still, I'm guessing in your head, this mindset that you've had for 30 or whatever years of that W-2, grind hard, time for a specific dollar amount of money is starting to maybe kind of get challenged a little bit.
Right. My last year, Matt, working for corporate America, I spent 270 nights in a hotel. Oh. And that's what I've been doing year after year after year. And trust me, guys, I know that sounds fun and glamorous. I was married. I am married still. Married, had kids. They're all grown. I have grandchildren. But even if you were single, it gets old like week one. It's old. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, Matt. You asked me a question earlier on, like, why didn't I take action? You didn't say it in these words, but why didn't I take action until I got that phone call, right? Sometimes we need a wake-up call, right? To all of a sudden to clear our vision, to maybe make priorities. And I've been thinking about investing forever, ever. I actually bought the VHS tapes of Carlton Sheets. Remember Carlton Sheets?
Oh, yeah.
To tell you how far back I went, not only did I buy the VHS tapes, which I never did nothing with, I actually bought the DVDs of Carlton Sheets. I have both of those somewhere that I've kept just for a memory. If I need to pull them out someday and go, this So that was always in my mind about, I was going to be a real estate investor. So I had that mindset all along. I just never made the time. I didn't know what I needed to know. And that was crucial. So I don't know if that leads you to your question or your next question.
No, I think it does, but it also goes to show in life, like you probably had that in your head watching your parents when you were way younger. And it's like, yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Or I should learn more about this in a couple of days. And then before you know it, 35 years have passed or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, now's the time, right? Now's the time.
Right, right.
So, okay, this is a great spot. So maybe wrap up like that transition. And then what are some of the first steps, either mentally or like you put into action to get you
Sure.
out of that door and into the new door that you're kind of continuing to walk down now?
Yeah. Great question. Great lead there. I put a post up recently on Facebook that I have realized this message for a very long time, but it talks about, and I've seen it written several different ways, but basically who you surround yourself is who you are. The sum of it's something like that, right, Matt? The sum of the people you surround yourself is who you become, right? And so, whether like you get, say, like there's people on here today, Matt, that are thinking about real estate investing and they just don't know where to go. They don't know where the support mechanism is. They're just trying to figure it out, right? They're trying to figure it out. And so first step is surround yourself with like-minded people. Okay. If you find, and you know what, you gotta, how we talk about, you gotta look in the mirror. You have to look in the mirror and you gotta say, self, do I have an abundance mindset or do I have a scarcity mindset? And if you have yourself a scarcity mindset, which I had it, I mean, I'm very open book. I'm very transparent. That's just the way I think we're all brought up that way. At least back when I was brought up, it was more the scarcity mindset. And so you got to decide right then, I'm going to change. It might not happen overnight, but I'm going to change from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And by doing that and surrounding yourself with people that have that same mindset, that look at things that way, that are realistic. If you want to be a real estate investor, say you get off this call and say, hey, I'm still not sure about it. Maybe I want to go open up a franchise. Maybe I want to go open up a restaurant or a bar. You need to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, that have already had experiences, that have made the mistakes and learned from them, and they'll share with you. Because I know, Matt, you'll agree with this. You and I will make a mistake in the next month when it comes to real estate investing.
Probably in the next hour.
Right. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make those mistakes, small mistakes.
Yeah.
And you got to realize, guys, you're not going to go through this business or any business and not make mistakes. But by learning and surrounding yourself with people in the field that you're in, man, that is crucial. So get the right mindset. Okay. Surround yourself with the right people. Now, if you've got people, I had this happening right at the beginning, Matt. I had people tell me like, nah, I wouldn't get into that. That's too risky. Real estate investing is risky, and I didn't know how to answer that at first, but then I later figured out really how simple it was. But, they said that. So what I'm saying is they were naysayers. Like, man, don't do that. You'll never be successful. I can't tell you how many people did that in my surrounding, but which was even deeper than that. I even had a lot of family, people you love and trust, and they say, nah, I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. That's going to be the biggest mistake you ever made in your life. When you got into the business, I'm sure you heard the same thing, right? Yeah. And so you got to surround. So sometimes it's taking that negative or that stuff that's a mess, what I call noise. Get the noise away from you, okay? Doesn't mean you have to just disown your family, but don't spend as much time with people like that, right? So that's what I did, Matt. I plugged myself in. I made a decision for about the first year and a half. I actually set goals. You know how we have vision boards? Like I have a vision board. You probably have a vision board. And so my vision board was then that was October of 2015. Okay. I remember it like it was yesterday.
5 years ago.
Yeah. I put on there that May of 2017, I would do my first real estate deal. Now you might think, wow, that's a long time to wait to do a deal, but this was my mindset. And and this is just me, I'm not telling anybody to wait that long, but I decided that I wanted to become super knowledgeable, and you never stop. I learn something new every day, and I want to learn something new every day, but I wanted to become really knowledgeable, and I wanted to build a great set of relationships, because I knew that mindset shifted from scarcity to abundance. And I realized that no longer was money and time the most important thing to me. Don't get me wrong. We all need money, right? We need money
Yeah.
to survive, to pay the bills, to raise our kids. And we also need time, not only time to be with our families, to vacation, to all whatever we want to do, whatever, do missionary work, do whatever you want to do. But they're no longer the most important things in my life. I don't go into a deal. Yes, I have parameters. I have a parameter like, if I'm going to do a deal and I'm going to tie up other people's money that I use all the time on my deals, if I'm going to tie up that relationship, I do want to make a bottom line dollar. So there is numbers involved, but
Yeah.
I don't go into deals thinking about how much money it's going to make or how much money I'm going to make for the year. I know the money and time will come, and long as I build those relationships and that knowledge. So I took the knowledge, put me in a position to apply the knowledge, and I started doing deals. So actually, my very first deal, I started in May of 2017. So it's been a great 3.5 years. Let me tell you, it's been awesome. So,
Well, and I think the way you approach it, sorry not to cut you off,
no,
is,
go ahead.
and I should have prepared a little bit better to show people the before and afters of some of the projects I've been involved with you on Wabash and Millsbury. But
Yeah.
it's like every flipper. You take a really crappy house that's dilapidated, but the care and the level of detail that you put into those was really second to none. And I think
Yeah.
that goes to show your overall mindset after you shifted from, well, probably your whole life, but specifically, after 2015
Right.
and your ramp up of like, I think, and you and I haven't talked about this, but I think you think of things with the end in mind, right? Like I can see on Millsbury, that property you just flipped that we showed the video of, is you had a very distinct vision for how that was going to turn out, not just as far as price point, colors, but really your process and your care and your thoughtfulness. And it shows just even in the video, right? A lot of people don't go to those extremes. So um, I guess what I'm saying is, it's so evident in how your thought process got you to where you were at, even on your little flips, but
Yeah.
also why it maybe took you a little bit of time to get into them, right? You need to do your planning. And some people are more of that ready fire aim, where they're firing before they're aiming. You seem to be aiming first and then loading the gun and then firing, right? And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do
No.
it. You've got to embrace your
Yeah.
natural tendencies and your personality.
I kind of slide a little bit of what you were talking about into the ready part. So I consider my readiness is a lot about what you talked about. Is not everybody, when they become a real estate investor, they may not have a good, clear vision in the beginning, but you can get it. So if you're on today, or if you're listening to this recording and you say, man, I have looked at some really, you said, crappy houses, what do we look for as an investor? We look for a motivated seller and a distressed property, right? Those are two key things. We want a distressed property because we can get a deeper discount. And then the money we put into it and the vision we put into it will bring the value up, so we can sell it toward the top of the market value. So the other thing is we look for motivated sellers. But so if you find yourself right like now, like I've looked at houses, but I can't see the finished product. Don't worry. Don't freak out and go, I can't do this business. Because when you've done it once, when you've done it, it starts to come. It's just like somebody opens up the blinds in the bedroom, and all of a sudden you went from, man, it's a beautiful day to lay in bed for an extra half hour. Then it's like, it's a beautiful day. I can't wait to get out there and get started. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what vision's about. So I consider a lot of that in the ready part. And I really try to execute the strategy you just talked about. Some people may not know what that strategy is you just said, but it's the ready, fire, aim strategy. Okay. And I know we don't have enough time to talk about that right today, but the other thing too, Matt, is I know you know this, but I just want to share it with people that I've never met on today, or people that watch this recording. I absolutely love what I do. I mean, I never go to bed at night worrying about the things I'm going to have to deal with tomorrow, whether it's with an inspector, whether it's with a lending, whatever it might be. Even if it's not good news, I'm ready to tackle it. And I will tell you, before I shifted my mindset, I don't know if I could have told you that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, you probably had a little bit of, maybe embarrassment's not the right word, but
Yeah.
maybe not confidence, right? Or
Right.
even just you hadn't opened up the blinds in your mind to see like, oh, okay, maybe I don't know everything I need to know, and how can I learn it and figure it out? I think that's so huge. There's a little bit of humility that needs to be done to be able to take action on this stuff. So, okay, this is great. I know some people are going to want to know some of the like technical ins and outs of like your business. And so what I'm maybe let's jump to like some specifics of your market, kind of your strategy now, your techniques, and then we'll kind of loop it back with any questions people have and the call with anything else we want to talk about. But let's maybe transition a little bit. What are some of the first deals that you got into? This may be helpful for people
Sure.
looking to get into their first deal. And
Great question.
what did you what did you have to learn first to be able to do those? And then we'll talk about raising money, how you set up deals, stuff like that.
Okay. So one of the very first deals the first couple deals I did, I had been told or had been given the advice. Some people call it mentorship. I'll just call it advice. And you can take advice any way you want. It's all about how you apply it. And so I took the advice that getting into it, even though I had a lot of background in construction, Matt, I mean, I did. I built $2.5 million retail stores from the ground up. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
physically do it, but I oversaw the projects and make sure they were built within the time, within the budget, per the scope, per the architectural drawings, and stuff like that. So I did have enough knowledge there that maybe some people don't have when they first start. But I was told in the very beginning, when you get into this business, don't do the first couple deals on your own. You'll find that that's the biggest mistake that people do is they get into a deal and they're like, man, I got a vision. I know what I want to do. I got this great opportunity. I can make 30 grand. I can make 60 grand. I can make 70 grand. And instead of thinking about that way is who can I bring into this deal? What individual or people can I bring into? Because you don't look at this business as a sprint. Look at it as a marathon. And so instead of making 50 grand on your first deal, you make 15 or 20, but you learn a lot from the people you bring in. So that's what I did in the beginning. And I don't second guess it. I don't go back but that helped a lot right there. I would not recommend anybody that I meet for the first time or I have a conversation with them or we're talking about this business. I always tell them when you get started, whether it's tomorrow, next month, 6 months from now, do your first deal or two with somebody that's experienced and that's done it.
I think that's
And
great advice. And then just to kind of add to that, once you do get a little momentum and you start moving outside your box, don't forget that. Like I know in 2008, when the crash kind of came, I'd been successfully flipping for quite a few years. And then all of a sudden I thought I could be a land developer using hard money and risky, financial structures. And I didn't want to ask like who could help me figure out to do this better. I was just like, no, here's a hammer, here's a nail, let's do it. Like let's start hammering away. And what happened was I didn't set things up the right way and got crushed, right? But if I would have thought about that, who can help me or who can I network with? But I kind of got into that trap of like, oh, I've done it, I know what I'm doing. I've flipped, at that point in time it was maybe 40 or 50 houses. Sure, I can do land development, we can put this together. And no, so just to add on to that, as you go throughout your investing career and you start getting into new product types or something like that, definitely pause and get a mentor or coach when you're going into an arena that you're not totally comfortable with.
yeah, so that's how I got started, Matt. That was, May of 2017. So I did my first couple deals with a team of other investors. And that was very beneficial. I learned so much from that. Like I said earlier, my goal is to learn things every day. So I learned so much from that. And then I kind of broke off on my own and I saw that I could run multiple projects at the same time. So I went from doing 2 at the same time with other people to doing 3 at a time by myself.
That's
Now,
awesome.
I'm not recommending, again, this is all, we're just throwing things out. We're having a conversation with you guys today with Matt. Me and I are having a conversation. You're a part of the conversation, even though who knows where you're, what state or where you're from. I see Leo on from St. Louis. I see somebody on from Cincinnati. I see another person from Fort Lauderdale, Florida on. So wherever you're at in the country, where this is just things we're talking about. You need to, what's right for you, what's right for your family. And, we're not attorneys, we're not realtors or anything like that. But so I went right from doing 2 deals at the same time with partners to doing 3 on my own. And I just continue to do that. So currently right now, you haven't asked this, but I think you know. So right now I literally have 5 new construction projects going on. I have 2 flips going on. I have 2 rehabs going on rental properties. So I've got I said 12 to somebody yesterday, but that I actually have contracts signed and I'm moving forward. I acquired things. I've got 13 different deals going on right now. And I couldn't do that by myself, Matt, because I'm surrounding myself with very, very important people and part of the COG. And so I don't have a mindset that, again, I got to make all the money on this deal. I'd rather make a half or a third of it and develop relationships and leverage other people's skill set. So that's the other thing I wanted to mention. So I went from 2 to 3, and I really started to figure out kind of where my niche was, where the skill sets that I was really good at and the skill sets that I was kind of lacking in. You know what I'm saying? So if you can identify those, which is not that hard to do, it's that conversation you have in the mirror is, what am I weak at? What do I need to improve on? And if you can do that with yourself, be real honest with yourself, then find people that have that skill set and circle yourself, have them in part of your your cabinet or part of your team. And so that's what I started doing. And, today, I'm it's one of the things as an investor, you'll get to, or you hear is people go, it's just hard to find good deals. There's too many people doing real estate out there, or, what I'm saying. It's a mirage of reasons or what I call excuses. But guys, I'm getting 3 to 5 deals a day sent to me right now, and so I have cleared what my plate needs to be, and I'm staying focused in that plate, and I'm making sure that the stuff that I want off my plate, I'm taking off. And so that's how I went from 2 to 3, and I continue to move forward. And you talking about the video you just showed a little while ago, and that's a home that we've already, as you know, we already closed, and the new homers moved in 2 weeks ago. And I'll tell you one of the biggest things that I just want to share. This is off topic, but I sat across from a closing table that day with a young couple. He's from the United States. She was from Brazil. They met, got married. They just had their first baby 8 months ago. They had never owned a home, Matt. They'd never owned a house. So that house at Millsbrae was their very first purchase. Okay. And folks that are on here know I sometimes wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing better in this business when the new homeowners literally cried at the closing table.
That's awesome.
They were so excited and so happy to have this house. And I'm telling you what, that alone just wants to go to do more and more, And somebody told me the other day, I need to create a website, which I haven't done. You mentioned you have a website. I need to create a website and start putting testimonials on this, because all these people over the last 3 years have been buying properties like, hey, if you ever want me to do a video for you or whatever, I will. Because so that's the pride. You talked about the detail. That's the pride I try to take, is that when people move in, are they going to tell their friends about what a great experience and what a great home, or are they going to talk about all the shortcuts that maybe, because, there are probably investors out there that take shortcuts and maybe don't finish the house the way I think they should finish it. And, the bottom line is, I've sold houses, Matt, from people that have told other people that bought my house, and they bought a house. So friends of friends have bought my houses. That's pretty cool. I
Well, and
mean,
it goes back to your the one mindset that you've had, I'm guessing your whole life is, and you've mentioned it here over and over and over again, relationships, right? Like you got to
yes.
pair the relationships with knowledge. But I gather that you're not just thinking about the relationship with you and the final dollar that you might make on the house, or you and your lender, for example, or you and your equity partners, or the other members of your LLC,
Yep.
but you're also thinking about, when that person walks in that door for the first time and they're going to live in that house, how do I want them to feel? And so that's really cool. And then the other thing I've noticed, this is just hopefully tie this to what you said, but when I'm working with you, I'm in Utah, you're buying houses in Ohio, Kansas, Kentucky. Like I don't know those markets very well, right? So it's very important for me to feel like I've got a really solid dude on the other end that knows what he's doing and that's responsible. That's where I'm way more worried about you as the borrower than I am the property. Because here in Utah, I'm way more worried about the property because I know it really well. I know how to get out of it if it goes bad. I've done homes in, virtually every neighborhood in the valley. But, in Ohio or these deals we're going to do in Kansas today, I don't know those properties, but I know Scott, right? And that's where relationships are so important. And then what I've seen from you is your relationships with me, but also with your title company, your attorney, your real estate agent. They're all pretty solid people from what I can tell. And so that trust that I have with you also kind of extends to them, and it just
Hmm.
makes doing business so much more
Yeah.
easier. Now, you also always got to verify, right? But
I was
if,
going to
if
say
you're,
that.
yeah, you got to verify. But if
That's
you're
one of the,
creating,
if I can tell you something real quick, this is one of the, there's a lot of reasons why not only do I respect you, Matt, but I'm honored and privileged to be a partner and be a friend of yours. From the very beginning, when we first met, is you had the same mindset as me, and that is you trust but verify. Okay. And we're 3 years into this, and you still trust but verify. And I wouldn't want anything else that from you because that tells me how solid of a person you are from a business perspective as well, is that you still trust what I say, but you verify. You still have me send the CMAs. You still have me send all the documents. I love that about it because you're not building a business for a sprint. You're building a marathon here,
yeah,
right? You
yeah, you got to
know?
think about that. A lot of times, like when I'm dealing with borrowers, and it's like, okay, I tell people all the time, this isn't about me and my lending, but I get business from other hard money lenders all the time, whether they know it or not, because they are more focused on that immediate one-time transaction instead of like, what does this relationship look like for the next 20 years? There's a lot of times where I'll maybe only do one loan for a person because like they have other resources and they don't need me. I realize that at times, hard money private lending can be expensive, but I'll get referrals from them or I'll get whatever from them because, hopefully I'm treating them right. And then,
Right.
for example, like if there's a situation where there needs to be an extension fee or something like that, or I could foreclose or file a notice of default, I'd rather do 20 loans with a guy and be a little patient and work with them, knowing that it is a marathon. I'm hoping to be doing this for 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 years versus, okay, I can make an extra 5 grand on this guy today. I'm just going to crush him and I'm never
Right.
going to see him again. Right.
But
So,
the way you can do and have that mindset, Matt, is because of the knowledge and the skill set you've developed. Is you still trust but verify. So you've got good verification going into it. That allows you to be a little bit more lenient if you have to be, or a little bit more patient because you understand the deal better. And again, that's key. That knowledge, guys. I cannot talk enough about having the right type of knowledge. And that's we didn't talk about that earlier, but so many people out there, and I get it. Social media is huge. I mean, it's basically running our country. It's crazy. I mean, I remember 4 years ago, I told people I would never be on Facebook. What's the old saying, Matt? Never say
never
never,
say never.
because I didn't like that drama perspective of Facebook or whatever. But then I had several key people in my life that I surrounded myself with that were investors, and they're like, dude, you got to be on Facebook. You just, and what you guys will not see is I don't share a ton of family stuff on Facebook. There's a reason why. But so if you ever see it, it's mostly about business. And, but again, it's applying that knowledge, man. It's not about going to University and trying to figure out a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then try to put it all together. It's creating relationships like I have created with you, because I just mentioned ago, I've got 13 deals that are closed, that are somewhere from the grounds getting broke, like we're doing new construction, all the way up to we've already got it on the market. And you and I aren't doing 13 deals together, okay?
Right.
You know that. So you already know, you knew this all along. I also have private lenders too. I have other resources. But okay, so here's what I want to say about difference in hard money and private money. Because I have people today ask me, why do you still do some hard money? I said, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as I'm still building my relationship. Okay. Do you follow? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. But
if I can save a couple points or whatever, okay. And if I'm going to look at just the net dollar line, but I'm looking at like, Matt, I want to do $20 million with you over the next 5 years.
Right.
If I got to pay a little bit more, man, I'm so excited for what we're going to do together. And I'm willing to pay a little bit more because yes, I do have private lenders. And typically you guys know that have done real estate or done any research, you can typically save money if you use a private lender. But I value the relationship that we have. And I also value what I'm learning from you. I've learned a ton from you in just the 2 years that we've talked. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, that's great. That's great. Not to kind of bounce around too much, but to involve people that have gotten in the chat. Audrey, I'm hoping I'm saying that name right. I think I am. But so this is a great question. And this has to go with a lot of people that are flipping. Doing deals in other states where you're not physically present to check on all the time. I would say, I'll answer this. Her question is, did you start local in your state? Do most people start local before doing deals out of state? I would say, unless you just have that skill to like know how to navigate in other markets, definitely stay local to start. In fact, stay super local. Like pick one neighborhood in your community and just get to know it really, really well. Like here in Utah, I would say go to West Valley and just start there and get to know all the streets, the neighborhoods, why values change from one street to another, what makes one house sell for more, and then start expanding, right? Get the basics first and then start expanding. Now, Scott, you have a benefit where you know two neighborhoods pretty well. When I say neighborhoods, I mean states, right? Like you grew up in Kansas, so you're going back to Kansas to invest. But it's not like you're all of a sudden going to Florida, right? Like you have a familiarity with Kansas in that market. And so maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great, and that was Audrey. That's a great question, Audrey. So I agree 100% with Matt. Get to know, if you're just getting started, get to know a local community really well and know the streets. Know who lives there. This is something that surprises me every day, Matt. And I think you're going to know what I'm going to say here in a minute, or you're going to relate to it. I'm shocked at the real estate investors that I talk to that are doing projects, and I ask them a simple question: who's going to buy your house? And they just think about it for a second. Guys, I can't tell you how important it is. You have to know who your end user is. If you're doing rental properties, who's going to live in your property? You need to identify and know that. If you don't, you're really going about this, I don't say the wrong way, you're just making it more difficult, okay? You got to know your end user. So to Matt's point, know a community, know the streets, know the businesses, know who lives there. Are they factory work? Are they blue collar? Are they white collar? Is it millennials? Is it professional people? Is it more seniors? Here's another thing. What's the rental and the ownership basis? People, and again, I know I'm not the most smartest guy out there. I mean, and what we do, Matt, you would agree, what we do is not rocket science, right?
No,
we don't have to have PhDs.
No, it's pretty easy at the end of the day. Now there's some inputs that you need to dial in with your analysis and how to fund it. But man, what you're telling me here is I'm just, it's kind of completing the full picture of what I know about you, that hopefully those that don't know you very well that are on this call can kind of glean from it. So this is my takeaway. There's two things so far is drill down on those relationships, but not just the relationships you want to have with people to be, that the group you want to be with, but all relationships, people that, whatever, like all relationships that you have, they're going to come back and benefit you if you treat them the right way. And then end in mind. You're not just thinking about how that house is going to look as far as aesthetics, what kitchen countertops, but you're thinking about who is actually going to move into this thing. And I think that helps you create a product that is that much more marketable, desirable, and ultimately profitable as well.
And I do want to interject though, if you're listening to this recording or you're on live today, if that kind of scares you a little bit, what we just talked about, or you don't think you've got that, or you can't, guys, it'll come. Surround yourself with the right people. It will come. I promise you it will. Okay. If you don't have vision, if you don't understand about finding the right, like who's going to live there, and I was about to say a minute ago too, I'm surprised by the real estate investors that don't know in a particular community or market what their percentage of rental customers and end user customers are. That surprises me all the time. They don't already know that. Is that market, you're talking to Audrey, is the market that you want to really focus on? Is that mostly rental? Is it mostly homeowners? Okay. You got to know that information. And it's not that hard to figure it out. This is not rocket science. I've had two of the best, you're talking about relationships. I can't talk about it enough. Knowledge and relationships. I've had two of the best compliments in the last 72 hours that I've had, that I cherish these compliments. I mean, they mean something to me as a person, as a business owner, as a real estate investor. And one of them was from an inspector who literally told me that he really appreciated the way I communicated with him and that he wished all investors did that. Now, to me, what I'm talking about, Matt. That's a huge compliment. Okay. The other one is just what you were talking a second ago, like you've noticed that I try to really surround myself with people that are on top of their game, that communicate well, that are very responsive, because this business is timing, right, Matt? It is timing. And being at the right place, right time, we all get that. Everything happens for a reason. I understand that. But like one of those title people that you've been working with, she told me the other day, because we've only done a few things with her, and she's like, why aren't all my other real estate investors like you? And I said, when she said that to me on the phone, I was like, okay, what does that mean? She goes, I never really kind of liked real estate investors until I met you. I'm like, oh, that's like the nicest compliment a title company can say to you as an investor. And guys, again, that's just me. That's who I am. And maybe that's corny. Maybe it's like, emotional and stuff like that. But it means a lot to me to have those kind of people, because guess what, Matt? Those people will go the extra mile for you.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to ask it, Matt. They do it on their own.
They do it on their own.
So guys, yes, I do love my bit. I do love what I do. And I know we're kind of running out of time, Matt. Did we have any other questions, or is there anything you wanted to wrap up with?
Well, so I do want to kind of we won't have time to dial into details, but just for fun, people like numbers. So that house you saw at the start, this doesn't have to be exact, but like the value creation. That's the other thing I love about real estate. You took that house from a purchase price of what, 252? Pillsbury?
No, it was actually, acquisition was 365.
Okay, either way, 365. Ended up selling it for 695.
Right.
That's awesome. And I know you did a ton of work to it, but that's just the value. Like, and when you're increasing the value of that property, knowing you and how you go about it and your knowledge and relationships, you are also increasing the value of yourself, right?
Yes.
Because of that process. So
absolutely, it's
also interchangeable. It's awesome. Okay, so is it possible to buy a house today for $25,000?
Matt, you're cheating because you already know. Yes, it is. So what Matt's talking about is, buying. So some people think they're like, get into real estate, I got to buy houses that are hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, I'm about to close on a property that's $25,000 that is already tenanted and needs a little bit of work, but not much. It's already tenanted. But you can, if you want to, there's this thing called investor ID. You know what I'm talking about, Matt? You
Actually,
have
I
to
don't.
figure.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
is it there's a resource or just a mindset that you're
It's a
talking
mindset.
about?
You,
Okay,
as
okay.
as a real estate investor, you don't have to do it today, but at some point within a short period of time, you need to figure out what your investor ID is. And basically, are you a Nordstrom's customer? Are you a Target customer? Are you a Walmart customer? And when I say customer, investor, are you a Nordstrom investor, or are you figure that out early? Figure out, do you want to get, what are your niches? Don't, and make them narrow. Guys, don't say, oh, I want to own a mobile home park. I want to have buy and holds. I want to own apartment buildings. I want to do fix and flips. I want to have short-term rentals. Maybe you'll get there, but you got to stay narrow focused. Okay. Figure out what you want to do and get really good at that. Then start expanding. Just like Matt said, I would have never just came to Kansas and started doing deals without infrastructure here. What do I mean by infrastructure? Okay, say like I didn't know to make, say like I wasn't born here. Okay, I haven't lived here since I was like 3 years old, 2 years old. So say I was never born here. Say that my mom, my sisters, my nieces, I didn't have a bunch of relatives. Just what was key for me was I started developing relationships. I found a great title company. I found a relationship with a lawyer. I found a relationship with a realtor. I mean, I already realized that all the great things going on here. And I don't even know if I shared this with you. Topeka, Kansas has the number 6 zip code desired in America right now. Number 6. I got to send that article to you.
Yeah, do it.
You don't want to go in. Does anybody want to go into a market that says it's on the downside, like it's going downwards? Or do you want to go on a market where prices continue to increase, where the city, the state are putting money into the markets? That's the stuff you'll learn by associating and hanging out with people that understand. And that's why I say circle yourself around people that have got experience. Do deals with people who got experience. So I wouldn't have, to your question, I couldn't have just jumped over to Kansas and did deals on my own. But now that I got 3 electricians, I've got 2 plumbers, I got 3 roofing people, I built this now. Now I can scale it. Now I can do 5 deals at a time, not have to live here.
Yeah.
Okay. And be able to pull it off. Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the bad guy here, Scott, because
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
respect the hour. And so we're going to
Yes.
wrap it up. We could go for days. One quick plug. Next week
Yes.
is also going to be an awesome call. David Robinson. He is a huge podcaster, tons of experience in multifamily. We'll be talking with him. So join us next week. So the final thing, if you can wrap it up in 30 seconds or so, Scott,
Okay.
I always like hearing this answer, and then I'm going to go back and sort through this call because there's so many takeaways for me. But if we were having this conversation 3 years from today, what would needs to have had happened in, let's just speak professionally, in your professional life, feel like you've had a good 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 3 years with, define it however you want quickly, like number of units, where you're at, maybe it's more of a mindset. What's on your vision board for the next 3 years?
Okay. Well, if I could give just a few like takeaways, because you talked about like golden nuggets. I think you mentioned that term. I love that term. Hopefully you guys have got at least one golden nugget that you can take and apply to what you're doing right now. If you've got more, that's great. But if you got one, that's perfect. But first of all, never give up. Okay. Never give up. Even when you get challenges thrown against you, look at them from sometimes it's tough, but look at them from a positive side, that you're going to learn from it, that you're going to grow from it. Again, this business is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Okay. And surround yourself with the right people. I used to love to read. I got to get back into Audible. I used to like read books. Now don't have time. I need to use Audible. But there's an author named John C. Maxwell. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him. Man, is he good or what? He's been around for a while. But he talked about getting the right people on the bus. And don't worry about which seat they get into right away. You can shift, but if you can get the right cabinet, the right people surrounding you and being a part of it, then you can shift all that later. Don't get worried about all those. But where's my vision 3 years from now? Well, Matt, this is definitely off the cuff for you because I didn't know you were going to ask me this. So this is definitely a problem. So I have a vision, and I've been cleaning my plate up a little bit for the last 6 months. And my plate is, I'm not going to be doing as many fix and flips. This is going to be new to you, Matt. I'm not going to be doing as many fix and flips moving forward right now. Okay. I'm going to focus on new construction. Okay. I'm going to focus on multi-units. I'm going to focus on apartment complex, like large apartment complexes. Okay. And I'm going to focus on building and doing bringing a product for affordable housing to the country. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people are working hard to make it happen, but we all have a huge need in our markets for affordable housing. And I'm not telling you I've got it figured out yet, but I'm getting close. And so if you ask me where I was going to be in 3 years from now, and we can put this in our calendar and we can put a reminder for 3 years from now to talk.
We're going to do it. Yeah.
I'm going to be in multiple states. If I say 10, I'll be in more. I'm going to be in multiple states. I'm going to have done several affordable housing projects around the country. And I'm going to have over 300 rental doors in 3 years.
I love it. We're going to follow up with you. Everybody, check out Scott's Facebook. He does a great job promoting what he does in a very subtle, non-threatening way. And so we can keep going on and on and on. So I'm just going to end it. Everybody, thanks for joining. Take something from what you learned and take action. And then, Scott, I'll probably be talking to you here in about 20 minutes on the deals that we're working on. So thanks all. And then those that wanted a book, I'm sending you a book. So we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great week.
Do I get a book?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Give me your address. Wait, I haven't. All right.
Yes, you have it. All right.
Have a great day.
Guys.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.